What's here?
X.
So what does this represent?
X.
Then I go look at my function and it says if x is less than 3 or if x is greater than 3. In this case, x is what?
Less than.
So that means I'm supposed to use this function.
Oh man.
Now, excuse me, what kind of function is
A
this?
cube.
A
A
cube.
cube.
How do you know it's cubic?
Because the 3 is the biggest exponent.
So for this problem, because this is -1, I will plug in
Right.
Yeah, you do Freddie. I don't even know why I'm using 3.
Now, 3 is what is called a boundary point. How do I know it's a boundary point? Because it is the condition that tells me whether I use this equation or that equation. Because 3 is the boundary point, I'm going to plug that into both equations. So, this is my boundary point, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that means I'm going to plug it into both equations. Now when we get to the graphing, that's when that's going to come into play. Okay? So I have to plug it into the first equation. Why am I doing that? Okay, so I plugged it into the first one, right? By the way, guys, remember we used to graph inequalities? Wasn't there a difference between graphing one with the equal sign and one without an equal sign? Who remembers? Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
No, you just said who remembers. And one was like a dotted line, right? And one was a solid line.
Okay, yes. And when we did a point, one was what and one was what?
One was
I didn't hear her. You said yeah.
One was closed.
One was closed and one was open. Do you remember which one had the closed?
The one with the line underneath it.
Right. So this has to have a closed circle. So I'm going to draw a closed circle with that. This one has to have a what?
Open.
Open circle. So by my answer, I'm going to put a closed circle so that I know when I graph this, I'm going to have a closed circle. Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I do this in my second one, and why am I doing this and doing 3 in both equations?
Because that's the
Boundary point. Good. So f of 3 for the second one. Oh, by the way, what kind of function is that?
Cubic root.
This one.
Oh, that's an exponential.
Why is that?
Because the x is in the exponent.
Good. Okay, so this is 8, and I'm going to put an open circle for 8. Okay? Now, some of you may want to write closed. If you want to, you can write closed and write open. My other classes, I had them write closed, write open. This will not be important to you until we graph it. Okay? Yes, we are graphing, but first we're going to be doing this. Yes.
Do we have the underlying number?
No, I'm just doing that so in all my calculations you know what the answer is.
Oh.
Okay? All right, the last one I'm going to use which function?
Wait, don't erase it.
Which one? For this last one, I'm using what function?
The second one.
What is that? What is that?
Exponential.
Thank you. Exponential. So,
Excuse me.
yes.
You put a 6.
Oh. Oh, because 6.
6. And it's open.
X is 6. No. We only have open and close at your what?
Where you get this
Boundary.
Boundary point.
Oh,
F of 6.
Oh, I get it now.
So, I'm not getting how you
Pause. Joy, when I first wrote the problems down, I wrote f of -1, f of 3, and f of 6.
Oh, I didn't.